All right, guys, so for week 4, we're gonna introduce new skill to you. This is gonna be an important one for sure to practice and know. It's gonna be the race start. A couple basics before actually performing a race start is, one, knowing what your start line looks like. Pretty common for most starts to, just have you about 10, 15, 20 feet from the water's edge. So you're usually paddle in one hand, board in the other, and you've got a quick little jog or sprint into the water, which done well gives you a really good glide to begin your sprint and your race. So some of the basics I like to introduce to people is, first off, knowing your beach, knowing what the slope of the beach is like, if there's any drop-offs. It's pretty common on the ocean to have a drop-off off the shore. So you wanna make sure we mount onto our board before we hit that drop-off. Another thing is kind of accounting for any current or wind drift that could be out there. Most races are set up to where you kind of have a hole shot buoy that everybody's sprinting towards. And so if there's a sideshore wind blowing from left to right, you might want to set yourself up a little bit more upwind to account for that drift. You want to try to eliminate as much paddle steering as possible so that you can really just focus on power in on that start. On top of that, some other things I like to look for is really just good positioning on the start line. I like to have space so that I don't have to worry about running into any of my competitors. And ideally, if I can, I like to start kind of on the outside of the line so that I'm near cleaner water. It's not uncommon, to have a race with 100 people on the line, and if you're in the middle of that, there's a lot of choppy water. It's gonna feel like a bathtub. It makes it really unstable for you, and just kind of an awkward start, very unstable water. You might end up in the water. Knowing your beach, accounting for the wind drift, and finding that space on the lineup to give you a clean start is some of the basics I would look for. So when it comes to beach starts, it's best to start slow. At first, you just want to kind of do the normal walk into the water that you've always been doing, probably board in one hand, paddle in the other hand. You place the board down on the water like so, at just a nice leisurely walk pace. Start with that, and then we just want to build it up. Power walk, light jog, medium jog, fast jog, and then if you're getting this down, then go ahead and try to give it, just build it up to a full effort where you're sprinting from the beach with board and paddle and giving yourself the best momentum to start with before you even take your first stroke. So this week we're gonna start playing with the paddle gears, the stroke gears. It's kind of one thing I like to call them. You can break it down for most people, I think, into 3 different gears. You have your first gear, which is kind of your cruising gear. That's kind of the gear you paddle out when you're a recreation paddler, just going sightseeing or whatnot. It's also kind of your resting gear. And we'd say second gear is kind of our race pace, our 80% effort that hopefully we can sustain for 20, 30, 45 minutes, depending on our physical abilities and commitment to paddling. Third gear is our kind of top gear, everything we've got kind of gear. So for week 4, we're gonna work the gears. We're gonna start with gear 1 for 2 minutes, then we're gonna hit gear 2 for 4 minutes. Again, this is gonna be kind of our race pace. So fill this out. We wanna try to find that right pace where we're able to perform all these intervals at the same intensity. So the last interval is done with the same effort and intensity as the first one. So that's gear 1 for 2 minutes, second gear for 4 minutes, top gear for 1 minute, all right? We're gonna wanna repeat that 4 to 5 times if can. Try to maintain clean technique during each gear, especially during gears 1 and 2. While you're recovering, kind of resting, catching your breath in gear 1, ideally we want to be doing our cleanest, smoothest paddling then. So we're still keeping the board gliding. We're not completely coming to a almost standstill. So next week we're going to talk about some strategy and thoughts during the race.